Welcome to the Book Flood Podcast. I am your host, Tom Nixon. My guest this week is Erin Dealey. Erin's original career goal was to be an Olympic gold medal tetherball player. When that didn't pan out, she became a teacher, theater director, actor, mom, blogger, award-winning playwright, and author of over a dozen children's books. Her books include Dear Earth from Your Friends in Room 5, Snow Globe Wishes, and Anna Dewdney Read Together Honor Book, Peter Easter Frog, a two-time Junior Library Guild Emergent Readers Plus selection, and Just Flowers, all of which celebrate kindness and community. In her spare time, she features author and illustrator book birthdays at erindealey.com, as well as editor and agent spotlights for the mixed up files of middle grade authors. Welcome, Erin.
Thank you so much for having me. This is great.
I appreciate you coming on the podcast. Why don't we start with your career trajectory? How did you get from no books to books, if you will?
It's a long trajectory. I'll try to make it short. And I actually credit my teacher in elementary school who I chose me out of all, I don't know why, I probably was the loudest or whatever, to go down and read to the kindergartners when that wasn't a thing anywhere, as far as I know. And so that was really fun and got me to looking at picture books because we didn't have a whole lot at home. And but I didn't think I'd ever write books. And I always thought outside the box. And I was thinking about this the other day. I wrote this. We had an autobiography assignment, and instead of writing an autobiography, I wrote the biography of me as told by my shadow. So something was happening, and my teachers just kept nurturing it. But I didn't think I could ever write. I had no idea I was going to write. My journals say it's the same thing today, and I don't know what to write. So I was not the person who was going to grow up and write books. I truly was going to be that tetherball player. But so then I entered a university with a major in math and a minor in French. Right, my husband laughs at that to this day. And my counselor said, why are you taking all these English and art classes and theater classes? And I'm like, because they're fun. And you get to do all this stuff and you get to read these books. And she said, you might want to change majors. So I changed majors and I graduated in English and art. And then I got my teaching credential. I always knew I wanted to be a teacher. I had the best math teacher in high school, which is probably why I wanted to be a math teacher, besides the fact that I knew how to get good grades in math. In English, it's not, how do you do this? You got to be psychic to get a good grade in English. At least that's how it felt. But anyway, so I was teaching high school English and theater, and I walked through my class one day and I picked up this cheesy novel and I went, I could do that. Could I do that? And I was always telling my kids, I was a student council advisor and a theater teacher. And I was always telling my kids, if you think you can do something, you got to try. You just never know. Unless it's going to be dangerous for somebody, you got to try. So I thought, well, I better put my money where my mouth is. And I tried. That novel never did get published, but I had a lot of fun trying. And then I started, when my daughter was little and I was reading her picture books, I'm like, picture books are theater. Picture books have been what I've been doing forever. I've been writing plays for my high school kids to perform, and so that's how Goldilocks Has Chickenpox started. And my friend and I decided we were going to write books, right? How hard could it be? And I wrote Goldilocks Has Chickenpox, and I couldn't find anybody who would publish rhymed picture books. There were only 2 publishers that I could find, and I got a rejection right away from Blackbird Publishing. It's probably a good thing they thought they were going to branch out from nonfiction, and maybe I just scared them off. But then I got a nibble from an editor, and she called me, and it was after like forever. I thought I'd forgotten all about it, and I run the theater department at a fine arts camp, and I went up to camp for the summer. It came back, and I got a phone call from Caitlin DeLuey, at Simon and Schuster, and she said, have you found an editor, a publisher for Goldilocks Has Chickenpox? And I'm like, no, and she said, well, I'd like to ask you a couple of questions. Do you have any more stories? And I said, oh yeah, I got tons of them. Are you open to editing? And I'm like, yeah, I'm an English teacher. I'm looking forward to that part. And so we were off and running, and she took me all the way. She pulled me out of the slush pile. I am a slush pile success story.
Oh, wow. That there are success stories out there for that, but not often.
Yeah, not somebody who ever
So
thought she
how is
wasn't going to
being
write.
oh, good.
No, yeah, go ahead.
No, for sure. How has being a teacher informed your writing career?
I think it works both ways, because when I first started teaching English and writing, and I taught creative writing to the high school kids who were trying to escape college-bound English, and we wrote every day. But when I first started teaching writing, I was writing, like you would teach math. You have an assignment. Here's the formula. Here's the pattern. Let's write this poem now. Let's write this essay. This is what it looks like in format and whatever. And at one point, when I was writing children's books, it occurred to me that writing is not like math. Writing is a language art. And the minute I figured out it was an art, I realized it could be messy, like clay is messy. And we smush it together, and then we roll it together, and then we make something. And if we don't like it, we smush it again. It doesn't mean you can't play with clay. You can't make stuff out of clay. It's the same thing with writing. And that really freed me up. So it goes both ways, how that influences me. It also, when I'm writing a book, if I'm writing a picture book, I have a middle grade novel that's out there somewhere, Think Good Thoughts. But I do think of the kids. I think of, are they going to be bored with the first sentence, and I always think I'm still a 8-year-old at heart as it is. And if I'm bored, then I know they're going to be bored. And so then I start over. So, either way, it's been a really big help for me to be a writer that informs my teaching, and to be a teacher that informs my writing. So.
It's a good way to put it. Why is it important to share kindness and community in your books? I noticed that I was stalking you on your website, and that popped up. And why is that important for you?
It's really weird, because I don't start out to write a book about kindness or community. The ideas pop into my head, and I just try to honor them. Dear Earth, for example, Dear Earth from Your Friends in Room 5 came from a beautiful painting that I saw Dao Fumirik painted for a Christmas card that she sent out to everyone, and an angel was holding the earth. And I thought, oh, wow, that's got to be a book. And so I talked to her, and we said, yeah, let's try to write this. And I started out writing it as an angel taking care of the earth, but then I thought, no, it's the kids, it's all the different generations that need to know we need to take care of the earth. There's no angel doing the job. And so that turned into Dear Earth from Your Friends in Room 5, and it just happened that it's got some inclusion in it. The kids are they help the earth, they give back to what the earth has given them. And every one of those books, even Peter Easterfrog, who thinks he wants to help, be the bunny, and all his friends start helping him. And, why should the bunny have all the fun? And then it turns out, well, maybe nobody's ever given the bunny an Easter egg before. And so but those things always just sneak in, and I think it's, thanks, Mom. I think it's my mom who was always saying, if you can't say anything nice, don't say it at all. So, boy, we could use that now, huh? But anyway.
Right. What is your writing process like?
The writing process itself, it pops into my head, and I kind of, I look it up to see if that's, a title. A title usually is the one that pops into my head first. And if nobody's got that title, or if the book isn't, 14 different versions of it, or even 2 or whatever, then I get started on it. And I'll show you what my process, where to go. this is what I'm talking. This is like an old repurposed book that somebody gave me. It's a, it's just a blank book. And this, what I do is I just start writing. And this is actually Dear Earth from Your Friends in Room 5. And it's just a mess. But I really find that it's better for me to write it out longhand first. I feel like it's more like what an artist would do, make a sketch, and then you can go digital on either, writing or art. But it just connects to more of my parts of my brain when I'm writing it out longhand, and then I end up with all these little pieces of paper where ideas occur to me, and I merge them and send it, put it together, and then I have my writing group. You had Patricia Newman on here recently, and she's one of my writing critique pals. We're part of the PBJs, Picture Book Jammers, and they read my stuff, and we work on each other's stuff, and we tell each other where things aren't clear or what. After that, I rewrite it again, and I may have a couple more beta readers, and then I send it to my agent. And then we start the process. And she says, it's in the queue, she'll say, because, when you have an agent, you're not the only kid in the family. There's a whole lot of them out there. And they're waiting for attention, and they need, so sometimes you don't get your manuscript sent out right away. Sometimes the timing's not right. So we always say it only takes one yes. So that's the process. It kind of changes, but go ahead.
How did you get an agent?
I was, the first two books were unagented. Goldilocks Has Chickenpox and Little Bo Peep Can't Get to Sleep were both with Caitlin Dewdney, and that was that slush bile success story. And then there was a big kind of lull where, it was I hate to say the recession word, but it was. And, there were a whole lot of things going on. So I actually wrote, while I was looking for an agent, I wrote for some publishers, like one in Korea, wrote for hire, workbooks for hire. But then I went to an SCBWI conference, and I had actually kind of asked Caitlin Dewdney. I asked her if she had some agents that she would recommend, but none of them were picking up picture book authors. Unless you were an author illustrator. And I knew I wanted to do a whole lot of different varieties. And so I didn't want to stick to one genre necessarily. So then when I was at Asilomar, which used to be a fabulous conference here in California, the SCBWI San Francisco South put on, and I ended up sitting next to Deborah Warren, who in turn actually is Patricia Newman's agent, and Ernesto Cisneros' agent, and a few other friends that I have, and we hit it off. And it really is like a marriage. You have to have trust in each other, and you have to get each other. It's not just a name that you find on a website that you think is going to just save your life and send in all these things and magic will happen. It really has to be this. You got to be in it for the long term, and you just have to, in my opinion, you have to really get each other and trust each other.
What are you working on now?
Well, I have a lot of irons in the fire because everything takes a long time. Like waiting is probably the hardest part of being a writer, in my opinion. You write something and you send it out and you wait, and you write something and you take it and you wait and wait. And the illustrator gets a whole year to do the pictures. So I actually do when there's a lull or when I'm waiting for art or whatever for the next picture book, I write plays as well. And that's been lots of fun because my theater director, high school theater years came back, and we've come full circle. And I like to write one-act plays for theater kids to perform at festivals and stuff. And it's been really fun. They've been going and getting golds and, having a great old time with these plays. So That's lots of fun. So I'm doing that. And right now I'm working on a play called Icarus and Amelia, if you can figure out who those characters are. Meanwhile, I just turned in a manuscript for a nonfiction which you got to think good thoughts about this, but it's about the first African-American stagecoach driver in California in the West, who was the driver in Yosemite and drove like Ulysses S. Grant into the valley and things like that. So think good thoughts about that. It's out on submission. And then my daughter is a third grade teacher now, so she's like another beta reader for me. I love, and what I just finished up, I actually just revised something about leprechauns. I won't tell you any more about that. And then the other day, I thought, people are always asking me, what about Peter Easter Frog? What are you going to do, Peter Santa Frog or whatever? And I'm like, that doesn't ring true to me. But then I thought the other day, Peter Teacher Frog. Oh my gosh, Peter Teacher Frog. And so that's what I'm playing with now. So we will see where that goes. You heard it first. It's not even it's in my head and it's on little tiny pieces of paper right now. So that's where we are with that. But those are the things I'm working on now.
Yeah. And you have a book coming out this year, next year?
Next year, last year I had 2 books come out, and one was actually planned for this year. So Just Flowers came out last year with Sleeping Bear, and the Half Birthday book came out last year. So I'm kind of using this year to kind of hopefully move them along a little bit. But next year, I just saw sketches for Squirrel Draws Big Feelings with Beaming Books. And it's really cool. It's something that I've been working on for a while, and it just couldn't all the pieces didn't flow as well. Luciana Navarro Powell is an illustrator who I've worked with before. She did Grandma's Favorite and Grandpa's Favorite, and also Babies Come from Airports. And I love working with her. And during the pandemic, she would take chalk and go out to her park in Bellingham, and she just does the best chalk art. It looks 3-dimensional. It's so fabulous. And I'm like, we need to do a book about this. And this has turned into like
that would be neat.
5 years later, this has turned into Squirrel Draws Big Feelings. And Squirrel's very squirrely. We all had one of those in our classroom. And Porcupine gets the pricklies. And Bear has very roarful days, and they don't have the tools to deal with things until Squirrel discovers a bucket of chalk. And they use chalk art to not only draw out their feelings, but make friends and connect each other to, once again, kindness and community, which I, again, did not plan. But yeah, that's I'm excited for that one. That'll be really fun.
Excellent. What is the best advice that you can offer to new authors or potential authors?
Wow. I mean, how long do you have, Tom? The best advice.
I have time.
The best advice is to you be you, but learn the rules so you know when to break them and you know how to break them. Like Peter Easter Frog, it's got part of rhyme in it, and then it's got interrupt. It's like interrupting chicken meets Peter Cottontail or something like that, because you can actually sing part of it, and then it's, hey, you're not the bunny. So I would not have thought of that early on. I probably thought you'd have to rhyme. If you're going to rhyme, you have to rhyme completely, right? But also, if you do want to rhyme, if you think you're supposed to write a children's book that rhymes, then make sure you can rhyme. And the reason why the teachers or publishers say they don't want a book in rhyme is because so many people think they should write in rhyme, but they don't have the scansion or the rhythm. So be very careful with that. But yeah, let's get back to writing as a language art, and make art and go where your heart tells you to write. Because if your heart's not in it, if there's no emotion in it, it's going to be completely flat. And we're drawn to things that make us feel something. So I don't know. I kind of went convoluted on you. Sorry, but
No worries. Do you do many presentations at schools, libraries, that sort of thing?
Oh yeah. I'm a drama teacher, so give me a microphone and a multi-purpose room full of kids, and we're good to go. And it's very fun. During the pandemic, I did lots and lots of Zooms. So, I'm fine with Zooms as well, because I really feel like that helps me get into classrooms and talk to the kids about
Mm,
writing. So any way I can, connect with kids. I love how they react to words, and I love just hanging out with them and showing them different worlds from different books and book talking other friends' books. And yes, the answer is yes.
which authors, either adult books or kid books, which authors do you always pick up to read?
Oh man, that list is long too. I bet you you have a long list as well. Ernesto Cisneros, I would pick up a book of his anytime. And
Yes,
Sharon Creech, she has been my hero forever. I have loved her since Bloomability. Just she's an amazing writer. And Jennifer Choldenko is a great author. Nicholas Day, if he's going to write another Mona Lisa book, I'm there for it. Let's see, who else? It's just, yeah, lots and lots of. It's just so cool that there's so many choices out there now. I read Wendell and
right.
Van Dranen, every one of those Sammy Keys mysteries. Those were great. Um, I read them more than my daughter was reading them at
I
the
like this
time.
as well.
Yeah, so lots and lots of them. I don't know what adult ones. We read all the way through the Bruno Chief of Police, all those Martin
Mm.
Walker books set in France. And yeah, Shakespeare did all right too, so I wouldn't turn down anything, if I got to go see a play anywhere. I love Shakespeare. I think I actually credit studying Shakespeare and directing plays with teaching me scansion and rhythm and voice. So anyway.
Mm. Is there a book or a series of books from your childhood that still engages you?
When I was thinking about this, and the thing that actually really that I gravitated to when I was a kid were comic books. I would have been a graphic novel kid
Mm.
now. And this is gonna age me, but the Dennis the Menace books were like my go-to thing. The neighborhood, the antics that they got into, those were really fun. Um, Snoopy, you know, Charlie Brown kind of stuff. That I was one
Yeah.
of those kids who needed white space, I think, on the page a lot. So those are the ones I picked up mostly.
Sounds very similar to my reading from my childhood as well. Is uh, now we call them graphic novels, but I was certainly a comic book reader. Certainly, uh, books that came with pictures for older readers were big things for me.
Right.
What are
Agree.
you reading now?
I just finished the Tontine Caper, which is by Diane K.
Mm.
Salerni. It just came out. I interviewed her for my book birthday interviews. Her interview will come out soon, and that was really fun. It was kind of half clue and a great mystery and lots of characters, and that was very fun. I just yesterday a friend of mine gave me Hamnet um, by oh gosh, I'm in a mix. Maggie O'Farrell, and that's an adult book
Mm.
about um, William Shakespeare's son was Hamnet, and that's who he wrote Hamlet.
Mm.
So that connects there. Yeah,
Huh.
those are my table right now. That's what I've been enjoying. But I'll be reading a nonfiction book at the same time I'm reading a picture book at the same time I'm reading an adult book. So yeah, it's it's lots of fun to have those choices.
Well, I want to thank you so much for coming on the podcast. And I'd like to remind our watchers and listeners, please, please, please like, subscribe, and share. Again, thank you, Erin. Appreciate you being here.